Hey guys, welcome back to Winter is Coming Live, the official Game of Thrones after show of winteriscoming.net, brought to you by Entertainment Weekly. Once again, we are here at the stream.tv, and once again, we are talking Game of Thrones, and as always, my name is Adam Rady, and I have a beard. To my left sits Alison Haislip. And of course, as always, to my right sits Xavier Brinkman.
What's up?
This week's episode was called Kill the Boy.
Sure was.
And before we jump into it, I just want to give a quick shout out to all the fans out there. Use the hashtag WIC. We want to see your questions, comments, concerns. There was a lot of good ones throughout the week, but we want to get even more good ones when the episode goes live. So make sure you guys get those in. Use the hashtag WIC. Let us know what you guys are thinking. And I want to start off this discussion with, of course, that line, which is kill the boy, Jon Snow. And I really dug that. I want to start with Jon Snow. I know there's a lot of places we could start with this episode, especially what happened last week. But I really dug that scene. And Xavier, shout out to you. You called that one before this episode even happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I was racking my brain on what boy was going to be killed. You know,
I thought Ollie might be a goner when I saw the title of this episode.
Tommen might have been in trouble, and then I read a few things, and I read that a bit about like Jon Snow and having to become a man and and take power, and I was like, that's got to be it, right? And then it turned out it was.
It was a great call. I really liked the scene. I like that it is kind of, because we've mentioned this before. I know Xavier and I have kind of mentioned where Jon, it's nice to see Jon growing and becoming a character, and now the show's basically said it. Like, look, now it's time for you to step up. And Aemon's response to Jon basically being like, hey, I need some help. What do you think about? And Aemon's like, I don't even care. Half the men already hate you anyways, so just do it.
Just do it. Be a man and do it.
Yeah.
Although it's really interesting because I just feel like Jon Snow's been living his whole life as a man, but this, for whatever reason, that this is the first time that the decisions are affecting more than just those immediately around him. He's now has to make decisions that are affecting the whole realm.
I think, and I love the scene with him and tell me his name, the Big Red.
Tell you or don't tell you?
Tell me his name.
Tormund.
Tormund. I love that scene where he just took the chance and unchained him. I thought it was like, I feel like.
By the way, Tormund could have killed him anyway with those shades. When he stood up and he was like so much taller than him.
He crushed him like a bug. But I thought that was a really cool he took a risk. He was being a badass. He showed him that he was willing to take a risk to make something happen, and he won it over. Like he was like, all right, come with me and let's make it happen.
Well, and the big thing here is that Jon has now said, like, look, here's the deal, guys. Either get south of the wall or you're gonna die. And he kind of presents this to Tormund, and then eventually he presents it to the Night's Watch. But there's a lot of opposition to this on both ends, but it sounds like he's got Tormund on his side if Jon goes to Hardhome, which is apparently where all the free folk, the wildlings, have retreated to. And they need ships.
And it's important to note that it's not that all of these wildlings are going to die, it's that they will become White Walkers, making their army even bigger than what it already is, which is already apparently unmanageable.
No, it's a great catch, Alison, because in that scene where Jon's talking to the Night's Watch, he specifically says to them, he's like, look, do you want them to become part of on our side, or do you want to add them to the army of the dead?
Yeah, we all know what happens to them. And which is cool.
Yeah, I just like the use of the army of the dead. I was like, this is kind of a cool. Now we're really starting to push into the fantasy realm of this medieval
thing. And it sort of skipped ahead there, so it looked like we skipped over the part where he'd obviously asked Stannis for permission to use his ships, and Stannis had obviously said, give him the green light, said go for it, just make sure you come back.
Yeah, that didn't actually happen on screen, but clearly it happened because before Stannis leaves, he says, I'm going to want my ships back.
I really like the dynamic between. I mean, like it's just this unspoken respect that Stannis has for Jon Snow. I feel like he's sort of like approving of his movement and transition into a leader, really.
Transition into a man.
Into a man.
I also find it very interesting, and I caught it in this episode, that Jon doesn't question Stannis's title. He refers to him as King Stannis without any regard to what's happening in King's Landing at all.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing I wanted to ask you guys was, is this the right decision for Jon Snow? And what I mean by that is there's a lot of people that are friends that are basically kind of not being very friendly towards him. Ed stands up and he's like, look, I'll follow you anywhere, but those wildlings killed Gren, and they killed Pip, and they killed 50 of our brothers. And then Ollie's like, hey, they killed my mom, they killed my dad, they freaking ate him, so not cool with me. So I'm asking you guys, do you think that this is a good choice it's obviously a good choice logistically speaking.
Yeah.
Get
right.
the people
Strategically, it's a good choice.
But is it good for Jon Snow?
I don't think it is obviously good for Jon Snow and his immediate surroundings, but I think that's what's going to determine him as a leader, is making sacrifices for the greater good, right?
Right.
Like that's what he's trying to look
that's
for.
what Maester Aemon says to him. Like he says it's going to be hard for you to be what's his title of the Night Watch?
Oh, Lord Commander.
He's Lord Commander of the Night Watch. It's going to be a hard road ahead for him, but with luck, he will at least affect what's happening in the realm. So I think that right there sort of sums up what's ahead for him. It ain't going to be easy.
No, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with the North here a little bit and jump over to some people we've been talking about, Stannis and, Jon's friends. And Stannis' great line to Sam, which was, "Keep reading, Samwell Tarly."
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
That was so
That
cool.
was such an interesting conversation, too, because he comes in being like, your father is Randall Tarly, and Sam immediately clams up and doesn't want to talk about it, and Stannis is like, he's a great fighter, you don't look like a fighter, and it just seems like Stannis is kind of being a jackass for no reason, and then all of a sudden he's like, I heard you're the one who killed the White Walker, tell me how you did it, and you realize that he's sitting there just trying to get a gauge of Sam to figure out why this guy knows how to kill White Walkers and that he is now a hope for
This was such
ahead.
a wonderful scene to me because it was one of those moments where when you watch TV or you watch movies or something like that and you're like, why doesn't somebody just say this thing that clearly you put these two things together? And Stannis was like, oh yeah, no, so we need to know how to kill the White Walkers because guess what? That army's coming.
Yeah.
Dragon glass.
And it was like perfect. He was like, oh, so that's how we kill him. Great. Keep reading and find out more ways to kill him.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I love that. I like Samwell Tarly is such a great character, and it's so good seeing him getting recognition of his talents, which is not fighting or doing anything like that, but just reading and intelligence.
Right. And what a great sign for Stannis, who is being called king, is trying to be king, wants to be king, to recognize that in someone like Samwell.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Actually, that kind of is such a great little throwback to a scene from, I believe, the beginning of last season after Joffrey died. And I know I'm going real obscure with this one, but Tywin came in and basically kind of went around Cersei to talk to Tommen, and she was like, and Tywin was like, what are the qualities that make a good king?
Oh, yes.
And it's very interesting because he talks about that there are like Robert was strong, and of course the one was pious or whatever. So I just think it's really interesting that we're seeing really good qualities in Stannis, who we're told is already the greatest military mind. Most people agree on that wholeheartedly, and now we're seeing him showing true signs of being a good king potentially.
Sure.
Yeah.
And even after last week, he's probably a good dad too, at least in his own way, in his own Stannis way.
Right.
So, of course, he meets with Davos in a very brief scene, but Davos is like, hey, so shouldn't we wait for Jon Snow to come back? Because maybe he's going to bring some wildlings.
And maybe some wildlings will come with us?
Yeah, maybe, and then we can get them. And Stannis is like, nope, it's time. We're going. We're not waiting. And who's to say Jon's even going to come back?
Yeah.
Right.
Which is, maybe a
That's
good call.
foreboding.
Well, yeah, obviously. But no, I think it's also one of those things where it's like, look, you're going to battle. Stuff happens. Who even knows how long it's going to take them? Because winter is coming. They never hesitate to say that.
Yeah.
No, they said that a lot this episode.
Yeah, exactly. But then after that, Davos goes to Shireen, and I think it's just what's more important to me about that particular scene, of course, is going this little scene with Shireen, because then Selyse. These are all difficult names, but Stannis
doing a great job.
Stannis' wife Selyse basically is like, you're going to scare the girl if you keep talking to her like that. I mean, and Xavier, you mentioned this before, where she just has no redeeming qualities.
Not one.
Awful.
She's just a biatch to watch. The actress plays the character very well. She never smiles.
She also has amazing cheekbones.
She has one redeeming quality. She has great
amazing cheekbones.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, but you're right. You see Davos be like, buck up, little girl. I'm scared, so will you come save me?
He's so great. He's so good with her, for sure.
Yeah. But the big thing, of course, is that Stannis leaves. Stannis takes his army. He's marching on Winterfell. And I kind of want to ask you guys, do you think that, what's the best speculation we can kind of go with? And the one that's kind of sticking in my mind, because I know it kind of helps us lead into the next subject, is earlier this season we heard Brienne say, what's the one thing I want to do? Kill Stannis Baratheon. And Stannis is going down to Winterfell. Guess who's in Winterfell, or just outside of Winterfell?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Man, Adam, you are good at putting that together. I didn't even think about that.
Boom. Well, show's over, guys.
Yeah.
That's the best I got.
I was more interested in the fact that the Boltons had their own version of their map with the X's. And did you notice, like, how cool?
Men, yeah.
Yeah, but the X's on their fight map were made out of a different material than Stannis's were. They were they related to the character using them. Boltons were like these like broken wood, jagged things, and Stannis's were very clean cut.
Oh,
X's.
okay. You're talking about like the craftsmanship.
The actual
of them.
X's, the thing.
Good
were
pickup.
Well, hey, Allison's got one. All right, I had one. Allison had one. Xavier, what's yours?
Give me time. Give me time.
Okay. All right. We'll come back.
Gotta come up in context, all right, guys.
But I feel like we originally thought that, when we heard Stannis' plan, that he was going to be marching on Winterfell sort of by surprise, and now we know that Bolton has figured it out. That he's like, nope, he has to come this way. So
yeah, it seems like the original intention would have been like, hey, let's go north. Nobody expects that, and then we'll ride down and do it. But obviously, word travels fast in the Seven Kingdoms, apparently. Jumping around in Winterfell or around there, because there's a lot to talk about, as there is in every episode. So again, use the hashtag WIC, get your thoughts out there so we can try to address those. But specifically, another good line, because I know we always talk about the good lines, is jealousy bores me. Yeah. You know what happens to people who bore me?
And what did happen was the most horrific thing ever. I mean, obviously talking about the flashback
I actually think there's way more horrific things that have happened in Game
of
Thrones.
Well, yeah, for sure. But I mean, like, we never really. So, when we flash back to Ramsay and what's her name? His mistress?
Miranda.
Oh, Miranda.
Yeah,
when
they were chasing the second girl through the woods, and they had the dogs after her and hunting her pretty much.
Right.
Like, so he basically threatened her, and I mean he did threaten her.
Yes.
I was very curious because this scene that we see, Miranda basically says, "I thought you were going to marry me," and Ramsay's like, "Hey, look, I'm a Bolton now, so gotta do what I gotta do. I guess I gotta go have sex with Sansa, consummate that. Real bummer that we can't be married, but whatever." I guess my point to this is that when Miranda then met Sansa later, my gears were a little bit turned, and I wanted to ask you guys, did you think that maybe she wasn't going to be evil and crazy, but be like, hey, I want to get back at Ramsay, so now I'm on your side, Sansa?
Oh, I was wondering what her motivation was. That whole scene sort of confused me. I was like, why is she going up to talk to her, and why did she lead her to Reek? I sort of didn't understand Miranda's motivation to that, but it makes me feel like we're going to see more of her in the future, and this whole plan is going to come through.
I think the question... the question I wanted to throw to you to maybe elaborate on this was when we later see Theon basically apologizing, and Ramsay saying, Reek apologizing, and Ramsay saying, I accept. Do you think that this was Ramsay's plan to get Miranda to show Sansa Reek?
Maybe, maybe, but I mean, I think you're right. Like, I think Miranda it did seem like she was being spiteful. There was something on there, but I guess what was she like? Putting Sansa in front of Theon because she's like, now you got to see the guy that burnt your two little brothers. But I mean, obviously that's still got to, she's like making her go and look at the guy that killed part of her family.
Right.
But that's the other thing. When's that going to come out that Theon didn't actually burn
Hopefully
the boys?
Not anytime soon, because as of now, they're safe.
Yeah.
So.
This particular combination of scenes was just so interesting. And I think that this is really where we do want to hear from the fans on these type of things, because it's so fun to think about. Like, was this Ramsay's idea to tell Miranda? Was Miranda just doing this spontaneously? Was Miranda trying to get on Sansa's good side? Was Miranda really trying to piss off Sansa? Like, what was the motivation?
It was ambiguous.
I don't think it was Miranda doing it for Ramsay. Solely because at the very end of that scene she had with Ramsay when he was like, I have to marry her, like, don't bore me. She had this look on her face that was like, I'm not happy with this scenario. I'm going to find a way to change it.
Yeah.
And maybe make it not boring.
Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe she's trying to get on Sansa's good side so she can get a threesome going.
That's probably it.
Good.
That's probably it.
Good. That would be great. Great. Yeah. So Reek is going to give away Sansa at the wedding, because that was not a creepy scene whatsoever at the dinner table.
Oh man, Sansa, dear sweet Sansa, is it ever going to go your way with a wedding? The answer is no.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
God damn it.
No.
Yeah.
You know what? That could be my lesson of the week. Sansa, don't get married.
Yeah.
Just don't ever get married.
Avoid marriage at all costs.
Avoid it at all costs. And then she gives a really great line where she says, "This is my home." It's the people that are strange.
Oh, that was great.
That was really cool. And then Walda reveals she's pregnant with maybe a boy. So then there's this crazy scene. And there's so many crazy scenes. I mean, you could say that with Ramsay all the time. But Roose and Ramsay are sitting together, and they have this wonderful counter to the scene between Shireen and Stannis. Where
From
Stannis,
last week.
where Stannis was a great father.
Right.
Because now we get the juxtaposition of where Stannis was like, "You are my daughter."
Yeah.
And now we hear Roose say, "You are my son."
Yes.
Well, after
And-
he had just so nonchalantly explained that, he's like, yeah, your mother hung her husband, and then I had her under his swinging body. And then a year later, she came back, and
I was going to whip her and
I was going to throw
you
the baby
river.
in the river, right? But you are my son. It's like, that wasn't nice at all. That was creepy.
But do you know what the thing that wasn't finished about that story? What happened to the mom?
Yeah.
Because she showed back up with the baby.
Yeah.
And we know Ramsay's alive.
That is true.
And we know she's
he said I
not.
should have
Also,
had a...
such a great explanation as to why Ramsay is as crazy as he is.
Yeah. He said I should have had her whipped, but he never mentioned what happened to her.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Just
Crazy, man.
terrifying people and scenes and craziness. But there is one good thing in this, and it is kind of now wrapping back around to how we led into this segment, and that's Brienne. And Pod are there.
Ah, one of our favorite duos.
Yeah, favorite duos. And you know what? I feel like we need some more Brienne and Pod, you know?
Yeah.
We do.
But in particular, Brienne has this really kind of either clever or bad idea. I'm not sure which one. I would leave that to you guys. Is it clever or bad to start just randomly asking strangers like, hey, who do you serve? Whose side are you on?
Well, I mean, it worked, I guess, for now. The message did get to Sansa, and now she potentially has an escape route. Hopefully, because it went to the right woman, it seems. But it's just
You reckon
a
that was from Brienne, the message?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. That's the person. Who's...
And we were laughing. I mean, when we watched this, she's like, light a candle in the highest.
The highest window.
Of the,
yeah,
of,
like
of
if
the
she
Broken
needs to
Tower.
get out
It's
of
like,
there.
well, she's getting attacked. She's going to be like, hang on a second, I've got to go and light a candle and climb a few flights of stairs first.
So Xavier, I want to stick with you on this one.
Yeah.
And the idea to me here is secrets don't stay safe, especially when spread around in Game of Thrones. Do you think that this sort of secret society of Northerners helping Sansa is going to last, or do you think that's going to backfire?
No, I think it's a good question. I like it. I think the Northerners are going to band together on this one. Like, I would hate to see like the Boltons intervene and people get hung and tortured and flayed. I think the Northerners they've been there for thousands of years. I think they're going to come together to help Sansa on this one. For
The
sure.
North always remembers.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Well,
The North remembers.
Yeah, the North remembers.
Yeah.
Well, first of all,
Oh, so Lannister always pays his debt.
Yeah, the North
mashed him up.
The North always remembers, but it's like it wasn't that long ago, old lady. Like
Right.
it didn't. You're not remembering hundreds of years ago here. It happened probably a couple of months ago.
I just feel like things never go right for Sansa. So I think you wouldn't be far off the mark if this secret got leaked out a little and Sansa gets screwed again.
Yeah, or if she's just about to get released and then
Yeah.
Ramsay comes in, crazy eyes comes in and ruins it.
Well, a new saying this week, we're remembering all of these sayings, the North
Yeah.
remembers, the Lannister always pays their debts. I believe the saying this week was, a mother never gives up on her children. She disciplines them, but she never gives up.
Ooh.
And that, of course, was spoken in High Valyrian by the beautiful Daenerys Targaryen, who, when speaking High Valyrian, there isn't much I wouldn't do for that woman, just to be clear. That's just a personal note.
Yep.
So I'll take note of that. But in response to Barristan's death and the attack by the Sons of the Harpy.
Which, wait a minute, by the way, we ended last week's episode being like, are they alive? Are they dead? I think I called it.
Yeah, great
That Grey
call.
Worm is still alive,
Yeah.
holding on for life, and Barristan sadly has passed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a great call, Alison, and that's kind of shame on me for not calling out to the wonderful Barristan Selmy, Barristan the Bold, who unfortunately we're not going to get any more Barristan the Bold. We only got that one moment of him fighting, and I mean it was rad. It was really cool.
He killed it.
But he did kill it.
Multiple
Good.
things.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
Good
what I
job,
did
Xavier. It's just.
Can we edit that out?
Yeah. But no, it is going to be a shame, and I do want to touch on that more after kind of summing up where we're at, because there's a great point to go with Barristan as well this week. But in response to his death, in response to Grey Worm, of course, being mortally wounded, but wounded real bad, and of course so many other deaths and the attacks by the Sons of Harpy. Daenerys rounds up all of the heads of the great families and is like, hey, come meet my dragons. They
Yes.
have something that they want to talk to you
Oh,
about.
and we get some awesome dragon scenes. I
Yeah.
love it.
That was rad.
More
So she burns
dragons.
the one dude, and she's like, I'm gonna let my dragons decide who's innocent and who's not. Because if they don't eat you, maybe you're not guilty
Yes.
or something. So that was crazy.
Yeah. The guy that got eaten. Do you reckon there was any reason that he got chosen to get put forward? Do you think she knew for sure that he was guilty of something, or
I
he
don't
just
think she knew
drew
for
the
sure. I
short
don't think there was
straw?
any
She's
way
like,
for-
someone's gonna die.
yeah.
Let's do the bald guy.
I don't think
That's
there's
a
any
great-
way to know for sure.
I thought about that as well,
Yeah.
where I was like, I wonder if she kind of, because she mentions who's guilty, who's innocent. Who could say? Maybe you're all innocent.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
But this guy's gonna burn.
Yeah.
Because
She made an example. I actually thought it was a bit extreme. I was like, wow, because she very rarely punishes anyone without actually knowing that they're
Yeah.
guilty.
So maybe she did know that guy was guilty.
No, I think because of where she then went after that scene, I think she didn't know. She basically took out her anger on this human being because
Yeah.
of Barristan's death, and then because of the very wise words from what's her translator's name?
Missandei.
Missandei.
So, yeah.
She realized her mistake, and that's why she went and apologized.
I want to stick with this
Yeah.
point that you're bringing up right here, but I just want to do a real quick mention because I'm a real big fan of film in general. I know you guys are as well. But I just really think that Game of Thrones does a really great job, and specifically this season did a great job of doing a lot of separation in the frame, where one side is, good versus evil, or people are separated, based upon like Roose and Ramsay earlier. And in this scene particularly, there was a great scene where Dany was sort of cutting the frame and the two dragons were on either side, guilty or
Yes.
innocent. So from a fan perspective, I really dug that. I thought I'd mention it because they do such a great job. But sticking actually to the point that Alison made, and I just didn't want to lose that, but Alison's made a really great point here, is that Dany specifically kind of calls out, or Missandei calls out, and basically says, like, look, you had the side of mercy in Barristan, and you had the side of sort of vengeance in Dario. And I'm not one to tell you what to do or not to do, but I can tell you that maybe there's a third option because I see you have taken that all the time. So what did you think of the third option?
I mean, so now she's going to marry.
I'm going to call the third option unification.
Unification. So yeah,
Rather than punishment
I liked it. I
or
mean,
mercy.
I kind of liked it. I was like, at the start, I was like, oh, come on, girl, just like give her your opinion, say something. But I think she kind of was like, you know what, like you actually, like Daenerys, you actually always have the better ideas. Go with the third option of what you think. And then obviously she did come up with a good idea. Like getting married to someone.
And a shocking idea.
Yeah, I know. I mean, who would have? So this guy.
I wasn't expecting that.
He's
I don't
sitting in
think
the
he was
cell.
expecting
He's
that.
like, that's it. I am flat out dead. And
Yes.
he's like, oh wait, no, I'm a king. Cool.
Yeah.
That way. Okay, I'll go with that.
I was,
Sweet.
I mean, you guys were with me when we watched the episode, but I was laughing so hard at the end of that scene because I was like, this guy, at the beginning of the scene, he thought he was going to die, and now all of a sudden he is marrying a queen.
He's
like,
marrying
he
the mother of dragons.
No idea what went on in his life.
So,
Yes.
Dany's plan, as you guys
Let's
have,
just rant
put
for a
it
bit.
out
He's
there.
like, you guys done? Okay, let's bring it back.
No, I'm with you guys because I wanted to then throw you guys another question, which is what you guys have pointed out. Her
Sure.
plan now, from seemingly left field, because she just came up with it, was like, hey, gonna marry you, gonna open up the fighting pits, so we're gonna unify the city. Everybody's gonna be under, this thing, and we're all gonna get together and be friends. Is this gonna work?
I mean, I feel like it's the best solution she's had so far.
Right.
I understand her hesitancy to open the fighting pits because all of us morally think that seems like a terrible
Yeah.
idea. But she made the really good point that it is tradition, and you can't steal
And
tradition
also-
away from a city and have them be
And also,
okay with it.
only free men can volunteer.
Right.
So
right.
I think it's a good one. She had the option to either go in with force and just go, all right, I'm going to tell you who's boss because if you go against me, I'm going to kill you. Or she's going, okay, or I could listen to what they want and and try and give it to them. Obviously, she's chosen that path, but I mean, that's a hard one as well. You can't just keep giving these people what they want because it's going to backfire sooner or later. You have to lay down the law at some point.
Right.
Last question on this subject. Is this the start of Daenerys doing the right things, making moves in Meereen? Because I would say, arguably, in Meereen, she's sort of just been stuck in a rut for a while now, trying to decide mercy, justice. Which one am I going to do? Is this the start? Is this the turnaround?
I think so.
Yeah, no, I think exactly what I said before, that she's finally realizing how this city works and what this city needs, and she will make it happen now.
I think, I agree. I think she's just, I think listening to a representative of the city is a smart move on her behalf.
Great, great. Now, every week, I kind of give you guys a note to self, something that occurred to me. Okay. And here it is, guys. Here it is. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Note to self this week. The Doom still rules Valyria. Don't go there.
Don't go there.
Just don't go there. Because the Doom rules Valyria. So, no, I don't want to go to a place that's ruled by the Doom. So maybe just avoid that place.
But good old Mormont.
The Mormont way.
The Mormont way. He ain't going to listen.
Yep. Long, sullen silences followed with the occasional punch in the face.
Yes, the Mormont way. I love it.
Tyrion is a legend.
So
yes, they shouldn't have gone there.
That scene was exciting to me.
Very exciting.
Because we've heard them mention in the show multiple times the Stone Men. And obviously it's been related to grayscale.
Yeah.
But we haven't actually seen what that means until now.
That was freaky. I loved that. Actually, the scene was scary, but it was actually really cool to see like a figure jump in the water and then coming out of the water. It's pretty cool.
And by the way, even before the Stone Men show up, the greatest part about it is we finally get to see Drogon.
Yeah.
And we see where he's gone. He's gone, weirdly enough, to Daenerys' home.
Well, yeah. From what I understand, Valyria was sort of like the place,
right?
Until it wasn't, as Jorah put it. And there was the Doom, and the Doom sounds like a bunch of natural disasters that maybe were caused by these people, by them learning too much. Because Tyrion he even mentions how many more thousands of years before we can build cities like this again.
Right.
Because we can't even match this technology. We know Valyrian steel can't be forged anymore the way they were doing it. We know there was magics at work. That's where the dragons are from. Yeah. That's where the Targaryens are from. And the Targaryens left Valyria to go take over Westeros and the Seven Kingdoms. So,
but that's why I find it so fascinating that Drogon found his way back there, like instinctually knew where to go.
Home. Yeah.
And seeing Tyrion's reaction, like when he sees this dragon for the first time and he stands up, and those are like the giant billboards that have been around town, is Tyrion at the edge of this boat mast looking up and seeing the dragon fly out of the mist, like that's what we just got to see, which was so cool. Yeah. And then the Stone Men.
And then the Stone Men. So Xavier, Stone Men attack the boat. You mentioned the one jump in the water and then they come out. And then Tyrion falls in the water. And I have to ask you, and I know that Alison's going to jump in and so am I, but did you think the episode was over?
I think we all did, we were like, God damn it, no.
I screamed at the TV. I was like, do not roll the credits.
We were ready. I had sort of started to I was like getting my keys and stuff, and then little Tyrion's eyes flutter open.
Little Tyrion's eyes.
I mean, I would have loved to have known what actually happened, how Jorah got out of that situation, where the boat went, where they were, like where they, I mean, obviously he was like, you were heavy, so we carried him somewhere, but like, what happened? Yeah. And also hard to fight a bunch of blokes and not being able to touch them, right?
Right, well.
Yeah, that's the idea. Well, and then of course, Jorah clearly did touch them, or they touched him.
Right.
As we see that Jorah has some grayscale, and I guess my kind of final thought on this one to ask you guys is, do you think, and I think I know the answer to this, but do you think that this just motivates Jorah even more to just get back to Daenerys and prove himself? Because
Absolutely.
He's doomed, right?
Right. Well, I think the only way, now that he knows he's on death's door, he needs her forgiveness, or he will not
also,
die.
Also, there's an opening now that Barristan's gone.
Yeah. Good point.
Absolutely. So, of course, we get to that point in our show where it is time for some fan questions, some fan comments, concerns, things like that, using the hashtag WIC. I know we've mentioned that before, but we really want you guys to use that hashtag to talk to us. Tell us your thoughts. So, the first person up today is at GBNF4Life. This person says, so grayscale only transfers from skin to skin contact, right? But a grayscale, meaning a stone man, touched Tyrion's ankle and Jorah touched his chest.
Okay, well, I believe a stone man only touched Tyrion's through his boot.
Yeah, through his boot.
Yeah, so his boot was, so it wasn't skin to skin contact. I don't think.
That's what I was going with.
Am I crazy? I didn't see the boot
he got
actually
dragged
come
down
up.
by his
he
shoe,
just got
but
grabbed by the boot. And I don't think. I think if Jorah touched him with the actual patch of grayscale, that would have been the problem. But because the grayscale hasn't actually spread on Jorah, I think you can still touch him with the other parts of your skin.
That's probably pretty good, Xavier.
Yeah.
I concur.
I'm going to say solid analysis by Dr. Haislip.
You're very welcome.
And I'm all on board for that analysis. So great question, GB.
I have office hours Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Yeah.
Great question at GMNF.
Playing golf Tuesdays and Thursdays.
GBNF for life. Thank you for the question. And our last question this week comes from @NellyJelly.
Oh, Nelly.
@NellyJelly. This is not necessarily much of a question as it is a comment, which I think is very interesting to talk about. They say, I love Shireen and Davos' relationship. Davos is almost like a father to Shireen, more than Stannis ever was. #WIC.
Yeah, I think that's very true, but I think, as we saw last week, that Stannis is a father, like you said, in his own way.
Yeah, in his own way.
Yeah.
And I think we get to see Davos doing some really cool things and maybe filling in a fatherly capacity that Stannis maybe is incapable of doing.
Well, and Davos was a father of 5.
Oh, a lot of kids.
And he lost a lot of them. So
Yeah.
I think his relationship with Shireen is replacing a lot of that.
Yeah, Xavier, I guess the question is, do you think that Davos is more of a father than Stannis is to Shireen?
I mean, up until the recent episode, I would have completely said yes on that. I feel like Stannis is like, he has it's pretty firm, his relationship and how he fathers his child. But I'd say yes, he does father her, but I think Davos has just a great relationship.
Maybe there's a lot of stuff going on behind closed doors with Stannis and Shireen that we don't get to see all the time.
Sure.
So,
True.
Again, thanks so much for the questions, guys. @NellyJelly, great comment. And, of course, more questions from all you guys using the #WIC. And, of course, now we get to the fun part where we do our 3 really fast lightning rounds, as it were. All right? And the first one up is your favorite line from the episode. From this week's episode, what is your favorite line? Alison Haislip's ready to go. Go.
Oh, absolutely. When Stannis went, fewer, and corrected that guy's grammar because he said less of them or whatever, and he was like, fewer. And Davos was like, what? And Stannis was like, never mind. It was like such a perfect Stannis moment that you know that if Stannis was around here in these times, he'd be the guy on Twitter being like, it's THEIR, not THEER. Like, you know that would be Stannis' thing.
Stannis would be a grammar Nazi?
He would totally be a grammar Nazi.
Yep.
So the fact that got written in and you get to see this moment of humor with Stannis, you're like, yes. Absolutely, that's my favorite line.
I liked it.
You go.
You
want me to go?
Yeah.
Okay, so my favorite line, I think, is the Mormont way. Long, sullen silences with the occasional punch in the face. I just thought that was just so great. And it was right after another fantastic Tyrion line, which was, I drink. That's what I do. And if I don't have anything to drink...
Yeah.
Tyrion is just such a great character.
The writers must love
him.
writing for him.
Oh,
He's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we got to see more of him this week, because I do feel like in the last 2 weeks, we've gotten to see sort of drunk, disheveled Tyrion,
Yeah.
but in very small doses. And
Now we get to see sober, disheveled
But he's so
Tyrion.
likable. I mean, you see how Jorah, he eventually starts talking to him in the boat, because he's just like, how could you not talk back to him? He's hilarious.
And then he cuts him loose at the end, too.
Yeah, no, I think I loved it. My one was, I guess, would have to be, even though it wasn't so much one line, but just generally how Roose Bolton divulged the information to Ramsay that he just how nonchalant he was about. He's like, oh yeah, got your mum, raped, hung her husband, raped her under his swinging body. Cool. Should we talk about war tactics now? Like it was just crazy. Like my mind was blown. I'm like, what the hell just happened? How did that? That's the first time he goes, you've never asked about your mum. Let me tell you.
Yeah, let me tell you this terrible story.
And then we'll move on quickly.
Yeah.
No questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, of course, our favorite lines.
Yep.
Get your favorite lines to us using the #WIC. Please and thank you.
Cool. Next one.
Next one. Here we go, guys. This one's a little obscure, but a good one, and I believe it was you two who came up with this one, and I really like it, which is what happens behind closed doors. In other words, when a character leaves the scene, which character left the scene and you were like, I really want to know what their rebuttal was or what they did next, what was their next line. When they walked out of that scene kept going without them. Which character was that for you, Xavier?
You go.
I started the first one.
Yeah, you started the first one. So
I know
you.
Jeez, no, you just have to give me some thinking time,
All right,
guys.
well, I'm going to say...
I know you've got yours.
I'm going to say, actually, technically we didn't see him walk out, but the scene ended when someone else walked out. So the head of... I'm sorry, say his name for me again, because I never say it right. Hidar? Hizdahr. The scene where Khaleesi walks in, where Daenerys walks in, is he thinks he's going to die, and at the end of the scene, she's basically proposed to him, and she's like, look, my suitor's already on his knees, and she walks out. if we could have like hung out with him for the next 10, 15 minutes after that, watching his mind explode and trying to figure out what was going on and just seeing the roller coaster he probably went on after that, I would have loved to have seen that.
Love it. I would probably go with, I guess an interesting one could be Ollie. I think you mentioned it. After, he has his confrontation with Jon Snow, and he's like, look, like, they killed my mum, they killed my father, I don't agree with this. And then he just ended the conversation. He's like, is there anything else? Do you need anything else? I would love to have seen, like, what's going on with the other crows, like with the Night's Watch. Like, where did Ollie run off to, and who is he talking to about Jon Snow? What's going on,
I think the easy one for me to jump to is what the heck happened underwater? Because we get the, we get the kind of jump in time, and I really would like to know, how did you guys get all the way from over there to over here without a boat, without, like, so I would like to see that. It's kind of easy to say. I think another one, just kind of a toss out there, is Gilly when she leaves when Stannis walks in.
Oh, yes.
Like, because Gilly and Sam were just kind of having a fight, but not really. It was kind of a, I don't know, just a little note there.
Yeah, I like it.
The last one that I have here to mention is that in Game of Thrones, so again, thank you all for watching, but our last sort of thought here to leave with everybody. In Game of Thrones, there are a lot of characters, as you guys know, and you can't get to them all in an episode. So in this episode, there was a lot of great scenes, characters, storylines that we didn't get to see. So who's sort of your missing in action? Who was the one you really wanted to see that you didn't get to see this week? Hopefully we'll get to see next week.
For me, it would be Jaime and Bronn.
Damn,
that's why you can't let me go first all the time, guys. I'm going to steal the good ones. I'm really excited to see where, like, Tweedledee and Tweedledum end up, and they're fighting, the things that they're going to learn along this journey, because even just Jaime's gold hand sword catch was such a highlight last week. I know that there's going to be more of that.
I hope that it's like a main feature of next week.
Yeah.
They
feel, Jaime and Bronn to me feel like the Avengers, kind of. Like, they're going to realize that their powers combined are greater than the sum of its parts. So I'm excited to see what they do.
Excellent. Xavier?
I guess Brienne and Pod are an easy option. We didn't see much of them this week, but I'm going to say, I guess Cersei is like, I'm interested in what she's up to over there, and with Marjorie and what's happening in King's Landing. Like, we didn't see any of it this week, and it's always
all the High Sparrow stuff.
Yeah, like Cersei, there's always something toxic and poisoning that she's like conjuring up. So I'm interested in what's going on.
Last season, there was a great mention when Tywin went to go see Oberyn. So again, going kind of obscure here, guys. But
of course you are.
But here, stay with me on this ride, because you're about to have your minds blown.
This guy.
And Oberyn and Tywin, they have this conversation where he's trying to get Oberyn, Tywin's trying to get Oberyn to be a judge. And he basically says, somebody throws out the idea that, like, oh yeah, and by the way, Dorne never fell. When the Targaryens came to take the Seven Kingdoms, 6 fell, and we just kind of went along with it, but the Targaryens never took Dorne. And so I want to see Dorne. That's the one that I've been excited to see. I want to see more Dorne. I want to see Prince Doran. I want to see Ilaria Sand. I want to see the Sand Snakes. I want to see all that craziness going down there, because Dorne, to me, is an exciting place for that reason and many others.
Right.
Excellent.
So,
into it.
Those are our thoughts, guys. We want to hear yours. Use the hashtag WIC. And again, thank you all so much for watching. On behalf of myself, on behalf of Alison, Haislip, and of course Xavier Brinkman, thank you all so much. And we hope you will check out winteriscoming.net. We hope you will check out Entertainment Weekly for all of your news, rumors, gossip, all the cool stuff, Game of Thrones-ish. We want to thank the for, of course, hosting us, and FanSided, because those guys are the best. So thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week.
See you later.
Jaime and Bronn.
Jaime and Bronn, yeah, you cheated on that one.